a very good evening to all the participants of Weekend Talk 25. Center of Excellence in Safety Engineering and Analytics, IIT Kharagpur welcomes all to this 25th Weekend Talk of Safety Engineering Management and Analytics. This program is conducted under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which is commemorating 75 years of India's independence by the Government of India. We start the program with this wonderful Sanskrit shloka, Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, and mrityor ma amritam gamaya, which inspires us to go from ignorance to the truth, to lead us from darkness to the light and from death to immortality. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very interesting topic with us, and a topic which everyone can easily relate to. The topic is related to personal protective equipment, a 360-degree approach to hand safety. And our eminent speaker this week is Mr. Basant Kumar Goenka. He is Executive Director and CEO, Accent Industries India. He has more than 25 years experience in manufacturing, sales and marketing, finance and human resource management. With a clear vision to ensure the safety of people in dynamically transforming industries across our country, it sets up Atlas Protective Products, a professional brand in PPE to understand the occupational safety needs of user industries in India and protect them from occupational hazards. He has conducted various HERA and HAZOP studies, worked closely with the safety management and user teams, and developed solutions for hand safety, which was the biggest concern across industries. Solutions were developed and also customized considering the varying working conditions, processes involved, physiological and psychological expectation of users. Using the best of technology, expertise, and cost advantage, products and solutions were developed in India and overseas, which are currently being used and protecting more than 2 million people across 800 companies in automobile, cement, metal, oil and gas, chemical, heavy engineering, aerospace, and various other industries in India. He is also associated with various industrial associations and organizations that promote the awareness of safety. So, IIT Kharagpur is privileged to have you with us in our weekend talk. I now request our chairman, COE SEA, Professor J. Maiti, to formally welcome our expert speaker.
Thank you, Mom. Mom, just before I welcome Mr. Goenka, I just have a short that announcement that with the request from the participants of the weekend talk as well as from others industry. So we are going to organize a certified short-term course or short-term training program on prevention through design and redesign. And it will be started from 6th December 2021 and it will continue up to 17th December. And we are organizing this with the help of Tiki also. And it's a 6 days a program and it will be evening time every day 2 to 3 hours. There are different topics enlisted. And basically, till now, what you are learning in the weekend talk, you are learning on different topics under different categories. Now, a consolidated 6 number of topics continuously in sequence, you will be learning through the short-term training program. So, interested participants may register and the link is given here. You may go through our COE website. There also you will get it. And as Moms requested me to welcome Mr. Goenka, so I already discussed with him and we are extremely happy. And I'm saying that people like Mr. Goenka is making our program we're taking our program to a greater height. That is what I can tell about Mr. Goenka, who is Executive Director and CEO of Accent Industries. And the topic is extremely important and it's a so focused one because all of us will be able to relate the issues related to hand safety and every day people at work facing this kind of problem. And Mr. Goenka, we from the COE Center of Excellence in Safety Engineering and Analytics, IIT Kharagpur, as well as from IIT Kharagpur as a whole, we cordially invite you to present your that excellent talk today, and the participant will be immensely benefited from your talk. So, Mr. Goenka, please.
I just want to add one word. The last 24 talks we have either from industry experts or from academicians who are in teaching and research. First time we are introducing the safety equipment manufacturer, whether it is personal or equipment related to safety. Because we thought this will give a lot of inputs to both academicians and the industry specialists. That's how Basant Goenka is here, Mr. Basant Goenka.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Maiti. Thank you, Professor Krishna, and thank you, Mom, for the for your introduction and more than warm welcome. And before I start my presentation, I would I would request everyone present in this gathering today to hold your hand and put your thumb inside. Okay? And now try to lift a pen. The best you can lift is probably this way. And now try to use the pen and write something. Try to write your name or try to sign your name. You will find it extremely difficult. So that is the value of one thumb. Just one thumb. What is the value of 5 fingers? What is the value of the full hand? Without the hands, you cannot imagine how life would. Now I'll come to a presentation. Is my screen visible to everyone? Mom,
Yes,
can
sir.
you?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh, perfect.
It's coming. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Perfect.
visible, sir.
Yeah. So, subject of our meeting today is safety and hand safety in particular. Safety is something which we are well aware of, which is all around us. We want to be safe. The country's defense force, the army, the navy, the air force, they keep our country safe from foreign invasion, from attacks. Even nature has given certain qualities to animals so that they are protected, they are safe. For example, a turtle has a shell on its back, which keeps it safe. A chameleon, it can change colors, so it can be safe. It can hide itself between leaves and the trees and protect itself from other animals attacking the chameleon. A small child who doesn't know what safety is, but if he sees something which he is scared of, and his parent is standing beside him, his mother or father, he simply holds on to that parent and he feels safe. So safety is there. It's inbuilt inside us. It's in our subconsciousness, and it's nothing new to us. Narrowing down our focus to hand safety, let us just refresh ourselves as to what is hand safety. So hand safety is nothing but the protection of hands from various hazards around us, such as cuts, pricks, stabs, burns, even dirt, roughness and scaling, radiation, sometimes muscular problems, skeletal problems, or some things which are not included in this slide, something like vibration, something like electrical shocks. So it is just protection of your hands, protection of your body from hazards around us. These hazards are very common. You see them in your household. You do not find it rare that someone who's chopping vegetables accidentally cuts his finger or pricks. You may have had various experiences when you have pricked your finger while plucking a rose or doing any kind of work. Roughness and scaling when you are handling something which has a rough surface, which leads to abrasion and your skin can get worn off from the surface. Muscular problems, skeletal problems, dirt. Every day we wash our hands to clean our hands, keep it safe. So what is hand safety? Hand safety is nothing but the safety of hands, protecting your hands. How do we protect our hands? Common ways to protect our hands is to wear a glove on your hand. That's how you're protected. If your hands are dirty, wash it with soap or some solution. These days, we are using sanitizers a lot. You use creams to keep your skin soft. You use ultraviolet light to protect from radiation. And of course, if you're aware that a particular surface, something cooking in your kitchen is hot, the utensil is hot, you won't touch it. And alertness. These are common. These are known to us. So let's focus on gloves. What are gloves? A glove is nothing but a piece of garment which covers the hand for protection of the person who's wearing the glove. Gloves are of various types, various styles, various designs. So you have a usual 5-finger glove, you have a finger cut glove, you have mittens. A finger cut glove is used when you require tactile sensitivity or where you require the skin to touch the object. You want to feel the object with your skin. For example, in mobile phones, if you're wearing gloves, you will not be able to use the touch screen. So in such applications, what you do is you cut the tip of the fingers and only the palm is what requires protection. So we have finger cut gloves. Just like a shirt, a pant, a salwar kurta can be designed and styled in any manner that the user wants to use it, finds it practical to be used and comfortable for usage. Similarly, gloves can be designed in various ways. Not only these, gloves can be designed just to cover the finger. Just as we have finger cut gloves, we have gloves which just cover one finger. Some would be wondering what's the use of just covering one finger. It's very useful. Like ladies particularly, when you are wearing a ring or jewelry, you will find that the jewelry needs to be filed, polished, and set very accurately. And that time, the jeweler is, if he is to polish a ring, he will hold the ring like this on his index finger and start polishing it. So no other portion of the hand requires protection but the finger, just the finger on which in which he's holding the ring, so that the file with which he's polishing the ring does not come in contact with the finger and cause any injury there. So gloves are of various types, can be designed in various ways for protection as required by the application. Now coming to evolution of gloves. Were gloves evolved yesterday? Were gloves developed yesterday? Was it available 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago? So I will say that gloves were available in the Stone Age, when human beings were still, very similar in physical comparison to chimpanzees and monkeys. If we read in comic books or if we see cartoon shows, we quite commonly find, there's a person who's holding some kind of a stone or some kind of a weapon in his hand, and his hand is covered with either some leaf or some skin. What is that? It's nothing. It's a glove. What we call these days a glove. It is to protect his hand from injury while he's going hunting for food. Egyptian laborers, the knights, the warriors, the medical practitioners, the rich and the famous, the sportsmen, and while he thieves behind. Even thieves wear gloves so that they don't leave fingerprints behind. So gloves have been used from a very long time for various purposes in our lifetime, and it's continuously evolving. But narrowing down our focus further and talking about gloves for personal protection. In order to make this presentation simple, I have categorized I put it in 4 groups: gloves for general application, gloves for chemical application, glove for cut and heat applications, and other customized or specialized solutions, which would be based on specific user requirements. So there was a time when only 4 or 5 types of gloves were known, like the leather gloves, the PVC gloves, cotton gloves made of cotton canvas fabric, and disposable gloves which are used by medical practitioners. But Over the past few years, the industry has been able to develop various solutions. The gloves which were cut and stitched from fabric have been replaced by seamless knitted gloves. So seamless knitted gloves are gloves which are made from yarn directly, from thread, and which can be worn on the hand, and it fits snugly on the hand. These gloves were developed during World War II in Japan, because the fighters those days were finding it difficult to put the finger inside the that area where you have to pull the trigger. I don't know what you call that exactly, but because the gloves were not fitting properly on the fingers on the hand, the warriors found it very difficult. They found it that no, my efficiency is going down, so they need to develop a solution for that. That is when the seamless knitted gloves were invented. So these are known for a snug fit, for your dexterity on the finger, for comfort in working, and of course for protection. These gloves are made in cotton, they can be made in nylon, they can be made in polyester, they can be made in specialized material such as aramids and various other materials, which I'll explain going forward in my presentation, so that it is useful in protecting the user as the application demands. Similarly, there are various other glove options made in leather, made in fabric, and these gloves can be further tipped with polymers like latex, nitrile, or PVC to give it value-added properties. For example, a simple glove, a simple seamless knitted cotton glove will not give you protection from pricks. Prick, as we saw 2 slides ago, is one of the causes for injury. So if you want protection from pricks, that's what the industry found, that it's a very common hazard and users require protection from pricks. So what we did is we coated a simple seamless knitted glove with latex, which gives you puncture protection, that is protection from pricks. It also gives you enhanced abrasion resistance, that is when you are handling something rough, and gives you a better grip. So when you are handling something which is slippery or which might slip off the hands, so this additional coating gives the necessary value-added features to basic seamless knitted gloves. Then we come to chemical-resistant gloves. Now, chemical is a vast subject. There are n number of chemicals, but in hand protection, most of the polymers that have been used to develop products for protection from chemicals, most of the common polymers are nitrile, latex, neoprene, and PVC. What we need to understand is what is the chemical that is being handled, because every chemical has its own strengths, its own properties, and every chemical, when exposed to these polymers, will react differently. The breakthrough time or the duration for which a product can give protection from a particular chemical differs from polymer to polymer and chemical to chemical. So one particular acid may give protection. Nitrile may resist one particular acid for a particular time, which latex may not. For example, sulfuric acid. Latex may be able to resist hydrochloric acid better than nitrile. Neoprene may be able to resist, let us say, aromatic solvents better than nitrile and latex. And PVC may be able to give protection from oils and lubricants better than any of the other products. So whenever we are selecting gloves for protection from chemical, we first need to understand what is the chemical that we are talking about. What is the nature of that chemical, and which is the polymer which gives best resistance to that chemical. Secondly, we need to understand what are the other associated hazards. For example, if we are handling a pipe which is carrying chemicals, or if we are handling a plastic barrel in which chemicals are kept, is it moving that barrel? Is it just like turning on and off a valve? Or is it like putting your hand inside the barrel and drawing some chemical out? So in order to identify what would be the most ideal safety solution, the safety product to be used for a given application, the analysis of the chemical first and then an analysis of the application is necessary. What we have found is that besides chemical hazards, there are various associated mechanical hazards. For example, if you are handling a barrel which is not made of plastic but which is made of metal, then it is very possible that that metal could have that barrel could have some sharp edges. It could have some some kind of pointed edges. So if you are using a glove which is not mechanically strong, then before you realize, the glove would have already got damaged. There would be a pinhole in the glove. And by the time your glove comes in contact with the chemical would leak through that pinhole and come in contact with your skin. So the industry has developed various different qualities, various different thicknesses, various different lengths, various different styles of gloves, each in each of these polymers based on the user industry and the application requirements. Then we come to the third group of hand safety products or application, which is cut and heat resistant gloves. So when we spoke about heat resistant gloves about 10 years or 15 years ago, the first thing that would come in anyone's mind was asbestos. Asbestos gives you heat protection. The second thing that would come in someone's mind was leather. That leather gives good heat protection. But asbestos is more of a hazard in itself than a protective product. So what was the solution? So the industry has worked in the last 15 years and developed various solutions, starting from aramids, starting from melamine, going to various other products like carbon, silica, glass fiber, which go into various applications and into making various safety products that can address issues related to thermal hazards and ensure the safety of workmen which have to negotiate such hazards at their workplace. Aramid, which is popularly also known as Kevlar. So the generic name of Kevlar is para-aramid. Aramid gives protection from both cut as well as heat. If you do not require protection from cut, just require protection from heat, then industry has developed solutions which can give you protection up to 1200 degrees Celsius of contact heat. These solutions have been developed using various specialty materials made out of glass, made out of silica, made out of ceramics, and very successfully these have been able to address issues where working was getting hampered or safety was getting compromised. Melamine has been used, melamine fiber has been used to develop yarn, and from yarn the industry has successfully been able to develop gloves, protective workwear. Now, we have spoken about one case where protection from heat is required, but protection from cut is not required. Now, where protection from cut is required, but protection from heat is not required. Here, a lot of research, lot of effort has been made by the industry globally, and various specialty material yarns have been developed using products like high molecular weight polyethylene, HPPE, and various other engineered fibers, which have very high mechanical strength. In fact, as I understand, the industry is now further working on these products to use in construction, which will partially be able to replace construction material such as steel and saria also. So these are considered to be 5 times stronger than steel. And we have been able to make it stronger by using a certain core inside these fibers. So there is a core which could be made of a glass fiber, or it could be made of steel itself. So you have the strength of steel, and then we wrap it around with a high molecular weight polyethylene or HPPE or some other fiber, to give it the inherent benefit of that material as well. And what we come up is a fantastic cut-resistant glove, which gives you perfect protection when you are handling even razor-sharp metal, when you are handling glass, or when you are handling any such thing which has the risk of completely chopping off your fingers. And of course, cotton and leather are traditional products where you require protection from moderate heat hazards, thermal hazards. Their cotton and leather give very good solutions. And of course, all users have their own application requirements, and some applications might have very specific requirements. So I'm giving a small example of gloves which are used by some of our defense force. These are gloves which are made of very specialized fabric, which is a cut-resistant fabric made out of meta-aramid, and also heat-resistant and flame-resistant, which has a lining of chain, which is made of stainless steel. And there are Kevlar reinforcements on running from the cuff area up to the fingertips, and there is a leather reinforcement on the knuckle area. So in case of riots, if someone is charging at you, even with a sword, you can simply hold the sword with your hand wearing these gloves and not a scratch will come to your hand. So it reminds me of the Shahenshah movie, where Amitabh Bachchan is wearing these kind of gloves and holding the sword and combating his enemy or whatever. So similar to this, the industry has been given various challenges like protection from steam, protection from very hot oils, protection from raisins, hot raisins, and using the combination of the materials like I just briefly explained earlier. We have developed various customized solutions and continue to do so. So I'm sure that a lot of people would be thinking that why am I saying so much? What is how do I understand this? How do I make it simpler? How can I use it to improve the safety at my workplace? So the first step to achieve excellence in hand safety is to know the application, whether it is a general application, whether it is a chemical application, whether it is a mechanical hazard, or whether it is a thermal hazard. So here I have put a few pictures. The first picture is of a furnace, as we are all aware of. So knowing the application, knowing what physical work a person has to do before a furnace. Does he need to put his hand inside a furnace and take something out? Or does the person need to work at a distance of 1 meter, 2 meters, or 5 meters away from the furnace? If a person is putting his hand inside the furnace to pull out a piece of metal or something, then he requires protection probably from 1200 degrees. But if a person is working at a distance of 2 meters away from the furnace, then he does not require contact heat. He requires protection from radiant heat, which is coming, which is radiating out of the furnace. Similarly, as we see in the second picture, we see a person who is trying to chop a log of wood. Here he is holding a chainsaw in his hand. Then there is a log of wood which he needs to cut, and then of course the chainsaw has a very sharp blade ahead. In this application, the primary hazard is vibration, because the chainsaw vibrates and the person who's handling that machine is continuously exposed to vibration. What the poor person who's handling the vibration, this chainsaw is going to experience later on in his life is something what we called an acute vibration syndrome. Hands or any part of our body, veins run through it and blood run through veins. If you are continuously exposed to vibration, your veins, the veins of your hands, eventually start becoming weak. If veins become weak, it puts additional stress on your heart. if there is stress on your heart, a person who is expected to live for 75 or 80 years will probably start developing heart problems at a much younger age, and his life expectancy, unfortunately, could be lower. So the principal hazard here, if we study the application, is from vibration. The secondary hazard here is from cut, which is due to the sharp edges of the blade. The third hazard associated here with this application is the rough surface of the log which the person is handling, so roughness and scaling. If you look at the left picture on the bottom, where we see someone hammering a nail, so there is difference between handling a nail and hammering a nail. If you are handling a nail, you require puncture protection. But if you are hammering a nail, you require impact protection so that the hammer does not accidentally fall on your hand. The picture in the center, it shows that that's a galvanizing unit. And housekeeping. Housekeeping, if we say, it generally means cleaning the floor, making sure that the workplace is kept tidy. But housekeeping in this kind of an environment is different because you require protection also from accidental molten metal splatter. And final picture on the bottom right is of drills. It is, if we are to handle cold drills or drills at room temperature, the primary protection required is cut because the drill has sharp edges. But if an operator has to remove a drill, say within 30 seconds, within 1 minute, or within 2 minutes, and replace the drill, the worn out drill, with a new drill, then it is not just cut protection, or it is not just puncture protection. It is also protection from thermal hazard because that drill is 99% going to be hot. And the operator has to replace the drill in the minimum possible period of time because now, everyone, the pressure is on productivity, efficiency. So he cannot wait for the drills to cool down and then remove the drills. So knowing the application, knowing the usage conditions, knowing the usage requirements, this is the first thing, the very first thing that we safety professionals need to do. We need to understand, we need to do a proper HERA and HAZOP analysis before we get into the subject of selecting a hand safety product. So there are like 2,000 different types of gloves, 2,000 different types of gloves. Which one do we select? Which is the best possible solution, which can guarantee safety, which if a worker, a user wears, he can say that, okay, I'm safe, I can work carefree. My PPE is going to take care of me. In order to reach that conclusion, it is of paramount importance that the application conditions and usage conditions are well understood. So I'll switch over from this particular flash player to a brief video.
Have you tried this in this WebEx video?
So what I'll do, I'll share my screen instead of sharing each program. I'll share my screen itself. There is something wrong with this video itself. Oh, I'm so sorry that this video is not running. It was running when I. My apologies. This video is not running. I don't know what's gone wrong. But this video basically showed a person actually working in an automobile company where he is assembling automobile and 5 seconds of various applications that need to do with a clear focus on hand safety. Let's try. So, well, we'll move on with the flash presentation. Yeah. So, well, yeah. Now, not wearing a glove is better than wearing the wrong glove. I'm aware that an object which I am about to handle is hot. So I will not touch that object because I'm already aware. But if I am under an illusion that I am wearing a glove which is going to protect me from heat, I am protected, then I will not think twice, but I will go ahead and start handling the object. But what if that glove is not equipped and does not impart the necessary protective features to protect from thermal hazards? Then the person will get injured. So it is important to use the right glove for the right application, or not use a glove at all and let a person make his own judgment whether working is safe or not. And of course, know the solution provider. Since we could not see that video, I'll just go to a different PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. So I have 3 slides on a PowerPoint where I would like to share some of my views and thoughts on what else needs to be done. You know, PPE is one part, gloves is one part, but that is the last resort of defense. As a safety professional myself, I feel that the first step to achieving a safe workspace is completely terminate the hazard from the engineering stage itself. If you are not able to terminate the hazard from the engineering stage itself, then you should be able to treat the hazard. For example, if there is a moving part, then you barricade it, you put a cage around it so that no one can come in contact with that moving part. You treat the hazard. If you cannot treat the hazard, you tolerate the hazard. You cannot terminate it, you cannot treat it, you tolerate it. Tolerate means, for example, if there is a thermal hazard and the contact heat is about 60 degrees, you are able to tolerate it. 65 degrees, you are able to tolerate it. But if you are not able to terminate it, if you're not able to treat it, if you're not able to tolerate it, then finally you transfer the hazard. You transfer the hazard to the PPE, so that if the temperature where a person has to work, or the temperature of the object is at 200 degrees or 300 degrees, you obviously cannot hold it with bare hands. You transfer it to your PPE, to your glove. So the glove might get damaged, but the skin, the hands will be protected. So the thought has to come at a much macro level. The thought has to come, the management has to first be committed, the lineman has to be educated, and he has to take responsibility. Then you have to do a HERA and HAZOP analysis. You have to identify the hazards and you have to analyze the risk. Then comes the safety solution and selection analysis, where we first try to treat the hazard, or we try to tolerate the hazard, or transfer the hazard. And finally, you implement the solution, you provide the necessary training to the user, and you monitor it. Whatever are we doing it right, or can we do better? This is the first approach, the bottom line of any process. There was a time 10 years, 15 years ago, and which was, where the culture was reactive, the performance measure was reactive. And the safety here was nothing but a natural instinct. That is, if something is hot, don't touch it. Reliability was fix it after it breaks. Behavior was responsive work. We graduated. We moved on. We moved on to a planned scenario where safety was enforced by the management. Here I can talk of safety belts. I think I learned driving at a very young age, and my first car was an Ambassador, which did not have a safety belt at all. And when I learned driving, I did not know, of course, what safety belts was, and was no habit of wearing a safety belt. And the first time I started wearing a safety belt was when I had to pay a fine of 100 or 200 rupees when the police stopped me and said, "Why aren't you wearing a safety belt? And you shouldn't be driving like this. It's for your own safety. Now you pay a fine." Okay, I paid my fine. And after that, I started wearing a safety belt. So sometimes the management needs to enforce, but the enforcement is for good of the user. That's the way we learn. That's the way I also learned. And reliability comes, fix it before it breaks it. Preventive maintenance. Behavior is planned work. And as we further graduate, what we are talking now and moving forward is precision, is self-discipline. Now, I cannot turn the ignition on of my car unless my safety belt is on. I get into the car, close the door, first put on the safety belt, and only then I can start. Now it's inbuilt into me. I just cannot start my car without my safety belt. Not just fix it, reliability, improve it. Whether it is with your engineering, whether it is with your safety gear, whether it is with anything at your workplace, improve it. Why? Why did it break down? Why was it not? How can we do it better? And the behavior is organizational discipline. What does this lead to? This leads to sustainability. This leads to profitability. This leads to excellence in workplace safety. So I'm talking to highly experienced and knowledgeable people here. I will not waste your valuable time on this slide. Here, I will have a lot to learn from you on what else we can do and how to establish excellence in workplace safety. But I'll go back to my core subject, that is hand safety. This is a slide where I will not spend much time. I will move forward. But going forward now, if we still wonder why hand safety, what is so great about hand safety? So as I started my presentation, hands are very precious, very important for us. We eat with our hands. We need to keep our hands safe so that we can eat, we can feed our families, we can earn. You need money for survival. And of course, so that we can change the TV channel. Now there are, I don't know how many channels, and we have to keep changing. Without our hands, we cannot change even the TV channels. So as all the reasons summed up together, and to conclude, because we have precious hands, so we need to take care of our hands, and our industry is there. We need to create awareness of how the industry has evolved, what we have done to make sure that your hands are protected. We have continuously involved engineering. We have done a lot of R&D in this, and we have developed various solutions. Unfortunately, the Bureau of Indian Standards and the bureaucracy here has not yet been able to translate or accept these and draw standards or promote the awareness and usage of these safety products. So we have to fall back on international standards, on European standards mostly. And so, yeah, before I explain that, let me share this screen. Oh my God. This PDF is not open. Yeah, while this takes its time to open, so I was mentioning at the beginning of my presentation that earlier in good old days, people knew only 4 or 5 different types of gloves, but now there are about 2,000 different types of gloves. So how do we know that which glove is suitable for us, for our application? And which product should we be using? And what are the quality parameters? And how do we ensure that the quality parameters are consistent and serve its purpose? So what we do is, or what the user industry, what we at our workplace should be doing is that Once we have analyzed the hazards, once we have understood the application perfectly, and once we know what are the risks and what is it that we need to protect ourselves, we need to develop a solution for that. The solution could be developed with one material, or it could be developed with a combination of material, whether it is for general application, chemical application, heat application, cut application, or heat and cut, or any specific application. Once that is done, we put the solution to trials. We take it to the user. He has to be comfortable. He has to be convinced that, yes, this product is going to protect me. It is going to keep me safe. We come across this term various times that सब glove इतना कड़ा है, काम नहीं होता है. Glove पहनने के बाद में हम लोग काम नहीं कर सकते हैं. या तो आप glove पहनने के लिए बोलिए या काम करने के लिए बोलिए. This has come because the product is not accepted by the user. It is not comfortable. If someone tells me today, that 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you wear a 3-piece suit and stand in the sun for 1 hour, I will not want to do it. Because I will first look at my comfort. Standing for 5 minutes is okay, but for 1 hour, I cannot do it. If you tell me for the sake of, honoring your respect, I might do it once, but I will not do it every day. I will not do it consistently. So the user comfort, the user psychology, that has to be kept in mind. People in South India like idli. People in North India like something else. They like dal makhani. So we have to keep everything in mind. First, make sure that the user whose life is at stake, he is comfortable and convinced. Taking care of safety is the second part. If the user does not use the safety product at the first stage, forget about safety. That product is useless. It's meaningless. So, taking all these things into consideration, we design the product. The hand safety industry is geared up for that. There are various solutions available. Then we put that to trial. The user is satisfied. The purpose and objective of safety is met. And then we draw specification, or then we identify the product in terms of performance. Like the report which I wanted to share with you is a report which is derived out of international standard, which is called EN 388 and EN 407, which contains 5 parameters for mechanical properties of a product and 6 parameters for thermal properties of a product. Once you know that this product works, it satisfies the user, it satisfies my application, and it takes care of safety, then you test that product and make sure that this product should score a level 4 in cut, a level 4 for protection from liquid aluminum or molten steel, or level 5 in terms of cut protection. And that is the Bible which we create for our next generation. That is the groundwork which we are doing now. But once that Bible is made, then our children, your children, will not need to do this research, this R&D that we are doing today. They will simply say that for this application, I require a cut level 5 glove, and then my user is going to be safe. There was a very interesting video, I think, in this group itself, that how the thought of, thought towards working, thought towards earning has changed, has evolved from generation to generation. Like my grandfather, how he used to think. He used to think that we should have, I should have a home, I should be able to feed my children. That is the basic necessity. My father, his generation used to think that let me make sure that that they're comfortable, and let's take care of the lifestyle also a little bit. So the housing, the comfort factor are taken care. Now comes the quality of life, the social environment in which you are moving. That is what our generation and the next generation are expecting from us. So similarly, my job, I feel, is to create a foundation, is to create a Bible for the next generation to follow and improve upon that. Unfortunately, in the Bureau of Indian Standards, none of these products are listed. None of these products have any standards. So what do we do? Where do we fall back on? So we are working with the Bureau of Indian Standards also, and a lot of work is being done there so that they can adopt these international standards, which they have done in the past, and have some sort of document available here as well, which the user industry can refer, which our next generation can refer, so that this groundwork which we have done creates a foundation where which helps them in times to come to achieve excellence and safety. So with that, I end my presentation. I've taken a lot of time, and I'm just, I think I've already overshot my time. And I would now request the team, Dr. Krishna, Professor Maiti, and Mom to take over. Thank you very much for your time.
Basant, you are not overshoot. If you have got anything more to
Yes.
share, you can. You can take another 5-10 minutes.
9 o'clock, I'm sure people will be looking forward to having dinner with their families now.
Great.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Wonderful session, sir. Wonderful session. Sir, I just we'll just move on to the Q&A. So, but sir, first question I'd like to ask. Sir, the question is that is there any index for comfort or breathability of hand protection gloves?
Yes.
I mean, sir, okay.
Very intelligent question. So there are standards. There is a European standard where you can measure the dexterity of the glove. So dexterity means how flexible the glove is. So if you are wearing a product on your hand, if it is flexible, it is comfortable. So there is again a score of 1 to 4. The higher the score, the more comfortable it is. So it is measurable.
Okay. So I think, sir, EN 388 doesn't cover that.
No. EN 388 does not cover the dexterity part. There is a different EN. It is called EN 420, where the dexterity is covered. EN 388 covers your mechanical strength, that is cut protection, abrasion
cut, yeah, tear and puncture.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, these 4.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll request Souvik to take up the Q&A.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So thank you, sir, for this wonderful presentation, very informative session. Now we have a lot of questions in the chat box. I'll take one by one. Yeah.
Please.
So the first question is, what are the key design parameters for hand gloves?
Well, the design parameters are generally not specified. So the design parameters are again based on the application requirements. As I said in the beginning of my my presentation, gloves can be designed in various ways. You can have a 5-finger glove, you can have a mitten design where the thumb is different and 4 fingers are put together. You can have finger cut gloves, you can have just fingers, you can have sleeves. So based on the application, the gloves can be designed. Although the standard, the European standard, contains certain measurements, but it is very, very flexible. So that measurement is mostly to determine the size. Like my size small and your size small may be different. My definition of small and your definition of small may be different. So just to have some sort of a consistency, terms like small, medium, and large have been quantified in the standard. Other than that, the design is absolutely flexible, and the objective is to meet the application requirement, not to comply with any pre-designed direction given in any book.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So our next question is there any development in ISI standard for gloves? Most makers refer EN standards for gloves in India, but Factories Act talks about conforming of PPEs to national standards.
That's right. So our apex body, which is the Safety Appliance and Manufacturers Association, is working very closely with the Bureau of Indian Standards to adopt the European standard, the European norms EN 374, EN 388, EN 407, EN 420, and others, which is at an advanced stage. And hopefully in 2022 itself, we should see the Bureau of Indian Standards also coming with their own publication and translating it into their own standards, incorporating it into their own standards. But as of now, it is not there. They have not yet upgraded these standards. They have done so in case of safety shoes. So the existing standard for safety shoes is a simple replica of the European standards, and we expect the same will happen with gloves as well. Coming to Factories Act, yes, there is a provision that the product should comply with the national standards, but there is also a provision now that in case the national standard does not cover that particular product, then it should at least comply with some other international standard, and documentary evidence for the same should be available with necessary marking and identification on the glove. I can share that that document if required with you, with the Center of Excellence, and if it can help the members in any way, it would be great.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So the next question is there any method to relate sharpness of the product we handle to the cut resistance value of the gloves?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So the best method that I believe is to do a practical trial. If you go to the glove industry, they will tell you take the best possible product and the most expensive product. But that is not a solution. So we really need to see what is the application. What is now here? There are various parameters. One of the most important parameters is weight of the object being handled. Is it like 500 grams or 1 kilogram, or is it like pushing a coil of steel or aluminum which weighs a few tons? So the force acting on the glove, on your hand, on the palm, is very important. The material which is being handled is very important. The sharpness, of course, we can say that it is sharp. That is secondary. Something which is not as sharp as a razor blade, but if you are pushing a coil which weighs a ton, will actually have a greater impact and significance than a 10-gram razor blade. So knowing the application is of paramount importance before we get into the product, the safety product.
Yes.
And then once we have identified that, yes, this works well, and we've been able to strike a balance between the safety product and the safety and the application, then we go back and see that, yes, this is a cut level 3. So a cut level 3 is suitable for this application.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So our next question is, what kind of research you do to design the to design for hand safety? How do you think academic units like COE, SCA will help manufacturing companies in hand safety?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of space and opportunity in R&D, and we work with, right from the principal manufacturers like companies like DuPont, companies like other companies like Westex, German companies, Indian companies. So I believe that there is a lot of talent and a lot of knowledge base in our country. Why do we need to go to foreign countries for developing material and principal material to make finished products which will be used by workers in our country? So the knowledge pool here, the talent pool here can be used. We can get assistance and help from you to to address issues which keep coming up as time evolves, as time changes, as new hazards keep coming up, as new equipment, new manufacturing technology keeps coming up. There is an ample scope here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So the last question for today's session is, it is about the welding gloves. As these are bulky, with which protect hands from fire but affect the dexterity of the welders. How can such gloves be redesigned, which can give adequate protection without compromising dexterity and performance?
A very, very interesting question. I can talk for 1 hour on this. So generally, in fact, now I'll talk a little about my personal experience. When I started this company about 15 years ago, the most common product being used across industry was leather gloves. And the most common problem which I faced was that, the leather gloves are so hard, they are so stiff, and they don't work. They get torn off very easily, and people cannot do welding wearing these gloves, and all these kind of issues. So, in fact, in my video also, which unfortunately could not play, the first shot is of welding, a person doing welding of the automobile chassis. So when we talk of welding, it's important to know the leather quality. Our industry has been able to develop leather in various qualities. And secondly, so if you have the right quality of leather, the dexterity or the flexibility of the leather is taken care of. Second comes the design of the glove. Normally, what we see in the markets is a two-dimensional glove, but that is not the answer. Your hand is not two-dimensional; it is three-dimensional. There is a length, there is a width, and there is a thickness. So leather gloves designed in 3 dimension with the right quality of leather and stitched with the right thread. So when we are talking of welding, one of the hazards is the welding spark, of course, that is the principal hazard. But welding spark does not fall only on the leather. It will fall on the seams or the thread which has been used to stitch the glove as well. Now, if the spark falls on the thread, immediately the thread will burn and it will appear that the glove has got torn off and it will start causing injury to the user's hands. So, one, leather quality, two, leather design, three, the material which is used to stitch that glove. That has to be flame resistant and it has to be molten metal splash resistant, because a welding spark is actually a tiny piece of molten metal which is which is at very high temperature and comes and falls on the glove. Thirdly, leather, when it comes directly in contact with the skin, becomes very uncomfortable. The moisture absorption or the moisture management of leather is very, very poor. It does not absorb sweat. So the lining which you put inside has to have good moisture management, which is why the industry insists that you put a cotton liner inside a leather glove and then issue it to the user so that he's comfortable, the hands are dry, and the working is seamless, and you can achieve the desired level of efficiency. So in my personal experience, we've gone to companies who have been using like 1,000 pairs of leather gloves a day, and we brought it down to barely like a few hundred pairs of leather gloves every week, because the right product is supplied, which takes care of safety. There are the seams do not burn, the spark do not fall, pass through the gloves. The safety is uncompromised. Comfort is taken care of. So coming to leather gloves, it's a vast subject, but the industry has developed solutions for it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for this nice explanation. I would like to invite Professor Krishna to formally provide vote of thanks to our today's expert speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ashish. Mr. Goenka, let me express, really, because of the knowledge which you have, because of the research you are doing, and because of the experiments you are conducting, and because of the passion which you have towards the gloves, you have shown that you are authority in this subject. You have proved that you are authority in this subject. Thank you very much. You touched safety engineering right from the hazard, risk to hierarchy of protection. Everything. This is nothing but safety engineering. You touched it, and you brought all those things in your gloves. You have put gloves to the safety engineering. Very, very, very interesting. I remember, Professor Maiti, I remember around 2005-06, we have invited Mr. Goenka to Tata Steel. We have huge problems of the gloves. We used to use single glove for all the things and except the chemical gloves. And people were totally dissatisfied with the performance of the gloves. Then he came and conducted huge assessment and came out with the solutions. Now the Tata Steel, the gloves which use different types of gloves which people prefer to use now, the gloves, is one of the contribution of Mr. Basant Goenka. And also at that time, one charity organization was making these gloves. Same gloves without any quality, without any fittings, all those things. They are run by some women. But without throwing them out, Basant Goenka helped that organization to improve the quality of the gloves. That is the contribution he has done to the society. And finally, Basant, you talked about 2,000 gloves. No glove, wrong glove is better than using the no glove. All these things, when you said, my scholars, my research scholars must have picked up artificial intelligence solutions for this, or smart gloves. All these things must have gone into their heads. Probably in the near future, under Professor Maiti, some scholars will do research work in these smart gloves and gloves with artificial intelligence to give much more protection to the hands. We are extremely thankful to you, Basant, for your very, very excellent presentation. Probably we thought the manufacturer or entrepreneur will speak about differently, but you have spoken no way less than our academicians who talked much of the academics or practitioners who talked about their practice. Your presentation was really, really good. And I'm also extremely thankful to the questions. These sort of quality questions, interesting questions people have put. Very, 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 very interesting. And I'm thankful to the participants who are very active in these. Even the moderators headed by Mom Mitra, Ashish, Sinjana, and Savik. You all done a good job, and I'm happy under the leadership of Professor Maiti. IIT is contributing the whole world. A lot of input. This sort of inputs, none of the safety professionals or the line managers must have got from any of the book, any place, unless people like him come and speak. Thank you for IIT for giving such a platform to extend the knowledge to the community who are in the field of safety, who are using the safety. Thank you very much. Thank you, friends, again. Next week again. And Basant, you have finished your talk in very, very planned time. That shows you are a very, very planned person. And next week, again, Friday at 8 p.m., we'll be coming to you with an academic speaker, because alternatively we are bringing academic and other speakers. Next week you'll have a academic speaker. Thank you all, and good night. Professor Maiti, you want to say anything?
No, only I just want to show my that all I can say the gratitude and whatever you can say that to Mr. Goenka. You are right, Professor Krishna. He has spoken just like a professor was speaking, having many years of teaching experience. It's a great to listen to Mr. Goenka.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Dr. Krishna and Professor Maiti.
And while uploading in the YouTube, if you want to share that videos, Vasant, Sween, please talk to him. See how we can incorporate that videos in the lecture.
Okay,
Please,
sir. Sure.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.